So if it wasn't successful, I was going to leave. And it was successful. Uh, my only child. And I was in love. She looked just like me. And I just remember little things being said. Like if we was out somewhere and if she was behind me, I would always stick my hand out and she would run up and grab it. Well, when my daughter came, I used to do that. I started doing it to her. And I remember my wife saying, I remember when you used to do that for me. Or we would go to a family event and I would tell a story. And it was mainly, my story. She might have been there, but it was my story and I'd be telling it to her. And then she would jump in and try to tell the story, finish the story. And I just remember little stuff like that. But, I'm not thinking anything of that, but the marriage deteriorated after my daughter. The sex life it just fell off a cliff, and I got addicted to porn, you know, because I came into the marriage. And like I said, I was at the top of my swag when I met her. I came into the marriage and I was like, I'm going to make this work. I will not be the cause of this marriage that is not successful. That's the mentality I had going into this marriage. And like I said, the marriage just started deteriorating. And then all of a sudden, I started gaining all this weight. Now, I've never just been a fast food, go out to eat every night. I love to cook, and I would cook. But whenever she said she would cook, she wouldn't cook. Then she started going out getting this fast food, and I would be like, I'm good. I don't need none. And she would bring me some anyway. I hate to throw money away, so I would eat it, not thinking that it was a motive or anything behind it. I like I said, I might have been naive. I'm not dumb, but to the point where it got to the point where I put my foot down. I was like, when I say I don't want that, don't bring nothing back. But about this time, I got big, man. I got big, and I said in another video, we had plugged up all our phones looking for photos of our daughter being delivered. And in all those photos, all those phones, you see photos of me taking before pictures trying to lose weight. I had did it with friends, college buddies. We was all trying to lose weight. And I kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, 2019 came around and we bought our house, our first house, our only house. And about this time, yeah, the marriage it was over with in 2019. And my daughter was young, but my generational curse was abandonment. I didn't want my daughter sitting on the porch with a bag waiting on me. So I was willing to deal with a bad marriage to be in my daughter's life every day. I have no idea what she was doing on the other side. I could care less. But once we got in our house, she made it evident that she didn't want to sleep with me. She built a pillow barrier in the bed, extra comforter on her side that wasn't on my side. So she would get undressed and get dressed to go to bed. So I knew she didn't want to sleep with me. I wasn't tripping about it. It was about my daughter at this point. I didn't, she throw me a piece here and there. I was like, oh, well, because I wasn't out in the streets. I wanted to be a respectable dad for my daughter. And I always thought that, she would come around. She would realize what she had, but she never did. It got worse. It got worse. 2020 happened and COVID happened. And then that's when the whole thing changed. Um, every job I had, I lost. Uh, and in hindsight, they were running me off. They wanted, the job I lost in 2020 after COVID. I was driving a truck, and they were sending me on routes with no loads there for me. Wouldn't answer the phone. JB Hunt. I'm not afraid to say it. It's JB Hunt Intermodal. They would run me on routes, and there was no load there to be picked up. They would send me to give me a trailer or pick up the first load I picked up to deliver. It would have a flat. They were doing stuff on purpose to make me quit, to the where my dispatcher jumped. I got to feed my kids. And I was like, what do you mean? I got to feed mine. It was that type of situation. It was that bad of an energy. It was they was trying to run me off. So and eventually they did. I ran off because I couldn't continue to stay at an 8 hour a job for 8-10 hours or whatever it was, 8 to 9 hours. They wanted me to work 12. I'm not giving anybody 12 hours of my day. You're trying to you're trying to tell me what I'm worth for 12 hours. So I would give them 8 hours and I would leave. Uh, so I got another job. I got another job working from home, and they pretty much did the same thing. It was evident what they was trying to do, and this job to the point where everything is on a computer, so there's footprints of everything that you're doing, and I was documenting everything. Once I realized what they were doing, my intuition about what they were doing was obvious. And then this type of job was you could work it at any time. Any time of the day you could work it. So how I caught them trying to sabotage me is the Most High. That's who I know it is now. Woke me up, and for some reason I didn't feel well or something. It woke me up early, like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, the Most High said, "Do your job now." So I sat down and I opened my laptop and I started doing my job. The last 30 minutes is when they got on. And then all hell broke out in the 30 minutes, and I had been documenting. I hadn't had any problems until they got on. And that's how I caught them, and I knew for a fact that they was trying to sabotage me, to the point where they started locking me out of meetings, locking my laptop up where I couldn't get into meetings. It was obvious what they were doing, to the point where I had to call EEOC. So I ended up taking a leave of absence, and I just left that job. So after that, I tried to start doing other jobs. I started a catering business, Fat Cousins Cooking, and it took off. It took off, and that's when wings went up to $1 gazillion. And then me and my brother started a coffee company, CBD coffee, heals your body and everything. Now, during all this time, especially when I started working from home, I started getting sick. And I never got sick. And in hindsight, I'm chosen. Are you feeling me? Diverticulitis. What else did happen? I started getting styes on my eyes. More motion sickness or bowel issues. I mean, I just started getting I sciatica. I couldn't even cross my legs. I couldn't even cross my legs to put my shoe on. I started having all these issues, and not to mention personal items of mine started coming up missing and never showing back up. Um, Wedding band, glasses, personal items. Um, Now, in 2024, we went to Vegas as a family. She had siblings out there. So we went out there and we chilled out there. And this is where I was drinking the coffee because I was having bowel issues. And the coffee is made with coconut oil, it helps your bowels to move. And I did that. And my whole body started tingling. My entire body started tingling. And I got scared and thought I needed to go to the hospital. And I told her brother, and he was like, "Oh, nigga, you just high." His girlfriend was like, "Here, drink this lemon water, it'll bring you down." And I told her, I said, "Well, since I know what it is, I kind of don't want to because it feels good." I said, "But since I scared everybody, I drink it." So I drunk it, brought me down. But from that point forward, I did it every day. And we get back to Texas. Well, first, before we left Vegas, um, I was all over social media at that time talking about the new world order and how they was going to take over one government, one bank, and all this stuff. And I found people talking about it online there. People that I didn't see in Texas. It was a whole another group of people in Vegas, and I commented on it. And immediately, "I don't know who you is. You must have a false account. We're going to shut your account down." I was like, "What?" I screenshotted it, showed it to my brother-in-law, showed it to my wife. We get back to Texas. We get pulled over twice within 72 hours on bogus pullovers. So now we got eyeballs on us. I haven't woke up completely, so I don't know what type of eyeballs are on us, but apparently some eyeballs are on us for us to be pulled over twice within 72 hours. And the only reason we didn't get pulled over the third time is because we didn't go nowhere in the middle day. We got back on Saturday, didn't go nowhere that Sunday, and went to go pick the dogs up that Monday and got pulled over the 2 days we left the house. And got pulled over on our way back from the airport, and then Monday to go pick the dogs up from boarding. And like I said, I wasn't fully awake then, but I kept drinking the coffee like I was drinking it in Vegas. That first week, by the end of that first week, I could think about people and they would call me. Or I'd be texting somebody and send a text and they would call and they'd be like, "Dude, I was in the middle of calling you when you was texting me." The second week, I started seeing orbs sitting right beside me. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was sitting on the sectional and I saw the orb out of my peripheral. I didn't look. I just saw it out of peripheral. I didn't turn my head. And my wife came running in the living room and said, "I don't care how many times I clean this urn off. Fingerprints keep showing up on it." And I just bust out and started crying. And I told her, I said, "Everybody don't get to go." That's just what the voice I heard in my head. Everybody doesn't get to go. And I said it and started bawling. So now my intuition is out of this world. It's so sharp. And my empathy was crazy. I mean, my face would just start leaking out of nowhere, man. My emotions, I would just start crying for no reason. I mean, any emotion that was had the hint of sadness, or I would just start crying. So that happened. And I started telling my wife about it, and she didn't like it. She wasn't liking it. And she started doing strange things after that, and started saying strange stuff. And we started arguing more and more and more. Now, I'm not the type to argue. I'm gonna be honest with you. If it gets to that point, we're gonna say stuff, but I'm the one that's gonna cut it off, because I know eventually somebody's gonna say something that they're gonna regret. So I try to cut it off before that. If we're not gonna agree, we're not gonna agree. So it's time to just cut it off before we say something that we're gonna regret. Um, Not her. She wanted to fight, and that was never me. But I always told her, I said, I love the feistiness in you, but don't give it to me, because I'm not going to give you a reason to do so. And like I said, the fights they kept escalating. It was more and more and more and more, because she wasn't feeling nothing that I was going through. She didn't want to acknowledge any of the illnesses that I was having. And the planes are flying over our house a lot. Um, I started noticing stuff that everybody else wasn't noticing. Like when the sky was red, I noticed that's when everybody would catch COVID or the flu or pneumonia or whatever it was. And I was telling her that. Or then waking up in the middle of the night. I'm not fully, the veil hadn't been completely pulled off yet. Um, but I, I told her, I said, they're going to try to steal our house. She said, what? I said, they're going to try to steal our house. Because I kept waking up at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And every ailment I had, they had an infomercial for it. I had got to a point where I started to realize I didn't want this stuff in my subconscious. She would always turn the TV on and fall asleep with it on, and I would like turn it off. I don't want that stuff in my subconscious. So now I'm starting to research, because once I forgot to tell y'all that part. Once I would think about people, and they would call. I called one of my homeboys, my roommate in college, and I called him and I told him what was going on. He said, "Oh, your third eye's been activated." I was like, "What?" He said, "Your pineal glands." Because at this point I was fasting. I had started fasting. I forgot to tell y'all that. There's so many branches on this tree. If I don't tell you something, I miss. But yeah, I had started fasting, and I was fasting when I was in Vegas because of my stomach issues. He said, "Oh yeah, you started, your pineal gland's been activated." And we chopped it up, and then like later on that day, I called one of her cousins that I had a feeling the same thing had happened to him. I didn't know. I was just guessing. And I called him, and I didn't just come out and blurt it out. I was just talking around, and he was like, "Oh, you activated your pineal glands." So that was confirmation. So that now I know that it's been activated. And I was like, wow. and so that happened, and I was telling her everything that was going on. Oh, you're starting to scare me. And she just started saying crazy stuff. Oh, you're just gonna try to go find people like you, huh? I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, you can do the same thing I just did. What are you talking about? Because my wife was the type where people just walk up to her and just start telling their business to her. So I knew she had a gift, but she didn't want to go into it. Um, so all that started happening right after we got back from Vegas. Then they started spraying the house with all kinds of stuff. Like one day, me and the dog came out, and there was white stuff all over the yard, all over the grass, all over the tree, all over the cars. And I was like, what the hell? I went to go pick it up, and it dissolved in between my thumb and my forefinger as soon as I picked it up. And I guess it got in my blood. It went straight to my blood, and I felt it run up my arms all the way over to my chest and to my heart. And I started having chest pain. And we went back inside, and I told her what happened. And she was like, what? What happened? And I told her. The first thing she did was went wash the cars. I ran out there after she left to wash the cars. I ran out there and I clipped some of it in a Ziploc bag. And not long after that, it started raining and washed all of it out. Washed it out of the trees, out of the yard. Now, if you know anything about HAARP, HAARP, then you know who controls the weather. Um, the styes in my eyes, they kept coming back. Um, the chemicals they were dropping, I couldn't cook out. Um, the red in the clouds to the point where they tried to hide it. They would have rain clouds beneath the red clouds, but as soon as the storm or whatever would go away, you could see the red in the clouds. And that's when people kept getting sick with COVID and all that other stuff. Um, she wasn't telling anybody about any of this, and and I couldn't understand why she wouldn't tell anybody. Um, Matter of fact, one of the photos I sent to my friends of my weight transformation with the same shirt and jacket on when I was skinny compared to when I was big. If you zoom up on one of my eye, it is swollen to where uh, whatever was blowing in the air was infecting my eyes. And this one's still a little bit puffy. It hadn't went down or doesn't go down anymore, but just kept going on to the point where I would pull her to the bedroom. I was like, "What is going on?" Now the whole time I'm telling my sister everything that's going on, everything. My sister would get off work in the morning time. She worked overnight, and by the time I would get up and walk the dogs, she would be getting off. Now, note, I haven't had a job. I don't have a job now. The coffee didn't work because as soon as it took us 6 months to get the LLC, and when the LLC finally came back, the little clientele I had built up, when I called them, they act like they didn't know me. I mean, they literally act like they didn't know me. Nobody wanted the coffee after those 6 months. Nobody. Everybody that was on my clientele, nobody. And I was drinking the coffee as well as donating it. They was giving me donation. I wasn't selling it to them. I was giving them coffee. They was giving me a donation. Uh, Nobody wanted the coffee. And this coffee was taking all your aches and pains out. That CBD oil is crazy. Uh, and that's why it's $70 an ounce, because they don't want that to get out. When I couldn't cross my legs, that's what stopped me from being able to cross. That was what helped me able to cross my legs again. The CBD oil, that whole sciatica nerve, all that situation everybody was dealing with, talking about your sciatica nerve and all that stuff. That's what allowed me. My body was full of inflammation, and the CBD oil took it out. And once I got better and I started fasting and I started losing weight, my wife really didn't like that. And I was coming more and more aware. And about this time, I had, like I told you, there's a lot of branches on this tree, and I'm missing a lot of stuff. But I'm trying to get y'all the Cliff Notes version. Um, get to the good part, I guess you say. I had started watching. Now I was just watching gospel videos on YouTube. I cut out all the social media. I quit watching TV, quit watching sports. I quit watching movies. I quit watching everything. And all I was watching was YouTube videos of gospel. And I mean people singing in their living room gospel songs. Not besides Yolanda Adams. I used to listen to Yolanda Adams. And it was a few other ones I would listen to. And I had playlists on Napster and all that stuff. And Rhapsody or whatever you want to call it. So that's all I was listening to was gospel music. And then I started listening to the tarot card readers and the channelers. She really hated that because, like, the first story I listened to, they told my story from my point of view, from what I saw. Now, everything they said she did, I have no idea. God bless her. You know, if she was out there like that, God bless her. Because 2018, she didn't sleep with me at all. I told you I was there for my daughter. 2019, uh, from 2025 when I left, I could count on both hands how many times we slept together. She was extremely breadcrumbing me. And by the end of 2024, I was through. I had checked out, and I was willing to do 9 more years for my daughter. I was in mental prison, and I was willing to do 9 more years for my daughter. That's how much I loved her. And she was the first one to bring up black magic. Like I said, I was naive. I had heard of voodoo and all that stuff in Louisiana, which she relocated and went to college down there. Um, I relo I checked out, and I lost my train of thought. She was the first one to bring it up. She just blurted out one day, "You got a hex on you." I was like, "What?" They threatened me and the baby. I was like, "What?" She started saying really crazy stuff. And when I would ask her about it, she would be like, "What content did I say that in?" I'm like, "What the hell does it mean? What content? You said it. What did you mean? Who, how I got a hex on me?" And she would never answer the questions. And MK Ultra bug got in my eye as I was walking. Um, she just started saying crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. And like I told y'all, my sister, uh, another confirmation. Me and my sister was talking about everything on the phone, and then We both got jury duty notifications in the mail. Now we're in two different states. We got them at the exact same time. The telephone calls we would have would just hang up on us, and we wouldn't be able to reconnect. Um, both our dogs, I have two, she have one. They both quit eating their dog food at the exact same time. So I knew there was something else involved too. It wasn't just my wife and what she had going on. I knew something else was going on as too because she couldn't control the phones and calls getting cut off and all this stuff. So I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? It just seemed a lot of stuff started going on, and I was like, this makes no sense. What is going on? And like I said, and then my wallet disappeared. It was a holiday. Well, like the first holiday was 4th of July, and this huge red cloud was over the house, and I started having chest pains. I started having these massive chest pains, and I talked to my college buddy. He was like, "Dog, you got to get out of that house." And I told him about the big red cloud. He said, "Dog, you got to get out of that house." I told her to look for a hotel room. She real, as a matter of fact, uh, there's no hotel rooms available. It's the holiday. She had called around a couple of them. All of them are booked. I said, "Well, call your sister." She lived in a few suburbs. I mean, she lived in a little city, little bitty. You know how the DFW is. It's just a bunch of little cities put together to make the whole DFW. And she called her. She's like, "Yeah, y'all can come over." We go over there and we stay. And the whole time we're there, my wife is sitting on the couch, mean mugging, pissed, rocks in her jaws. I bring it up to her later. I'm like, why was you upset? Oh, I didn't think we were spending the night there. I would have brought some stuff that. Why was you looking? Why do you think we was looking for hotel rooms? So, like I told y'all, my intuition was out of this world at this time. I just put it in the filing cabinet with all the other stuff, personal items coming up missing, all these illnesses that I've never had a problem. I've never had a problem with illnesses before. I just started putting all this stuff in the filing cabinet. There's so much other stuff that happened, but to fast forward to cut the story a little bit shorter, um, um, to fast forward, if it was a puzzle, a 1,000 piece puzzle, I had 985 pieces put together. That it was some black magic going on in my house. I don't know if you can go back and look through dates, but like I told you, I had started watching all these tarot card readers, and there was one particular one that my wife hated. Light underscore shield hated her to the point where she went through my phone and unsubscribed to her. No, I didn't lock my phone, and my phone did lock, but I wasn't hiding anything, so she knew the code to get in it. Um, Hated her. By this time, I know something's up with me. I had all these abilities. My mom, and my brother and sister comes down, and I hadn't smoked any weed since 2006. This was 2024, and brother brought gummies, and I took a gummy, not knowing that this is poison. Now this ain't just made out of weed, because now they legalize weed to taint it to poison folks. We know that now. I didn't know, um, and I took one, and it was like 125 milligrams or something. Not knowing, I couldn't function to the point where I went and laid across the bed and didn't go to sleep. I just laid across the bed and closed my eyes, and I instantly started walking through one of my memories. I literally could felt like I could touch the people in this memory, and it scared the bejesus out of me that I jumped up to go back in the living room and tell everybody I was going to bed. I had to force myself to go to sleep because I didn't want that anymore. Um, I did that, and that scared the daylights out of me. I didn't know what to think about that. And then so the lights went out on me. That was at the end of 2023. 2024 came around, and we just kept on fighting. Like I told you, I was telling my sister everything. And January the 20th came, and I knew I was coming up on the dark night of the soul. I don't have any money. I was manifesting winning scratch offs to have some kind of money in my pocket because I could manifest to the point where my daughter thought it was normal if we wanted to go get some for a day to go get a scratch off first. And that was just between me and her. She wanted, hot chocolate from Starbucks or, you know, go get some grocery to make a certain dinner. We go get a scratch off. And she thought it was normal to do that. And at this time, once I realized what I was going through with the tarot card readers and the channelers, I started teaching my daughter. And I picked up on her gifts. And I was trying to correct the errors of my ways because I was used to say to her all the time, why do you always cry about everything that we watch and we see? And you can't cry about everything, baby. I started correcting her on that. And the lights won't work. I'm going to have to wrap this up because the lights won't work. And so I started correcting her. But January 20th is when I told her I was leaving because she started attacking my sister, my brother, and my mom.